4 inches above the ground, at which point people just sort of looking a bit gobsmacked. The stable master sees you out. You do recognize him. You have met him before. His name is Burek.
4 inches above the ground.
That's what the horse... To those of you who are not riding a dragon, please add the horseshoes of a Zephyr into your inventory. Maybe that will give you the... I did say they give you 5 pairs.
I was just saying, my horse genuinely did turn into a plane. Oh my god.
No, your horse turned into a hovering...
Oh my gosh,
no! Okay, well anyway, of interest is the fact that the stable master of Velarys is Burek, who you have met before. He was Chivalry's right-hand man, if you remember. And you met him looking after Verity, in fact. Gets around.
This guy's everywhere.
Well, specifically, he is the stable master at Velarys, and always has been. Well, not always has been, but he has been since he was sort of in his 30s. He's now in his sort of mid-40s. Yeah, make of that what you will. But anyway, you guys are able to ride out to the southwest, heading out through Laven. And with your special, very clever mounts, I think you make quite great progress. Do we have a figure on Carina on distance travel per day on a phantom steed? Or distance travel per hour, perhaps?
Faster than a riding horse. Probably faster than a war horse.
I think it says how many miles it can travel in a day. Or in an hour. Why is it the only thing I can remember about this spell is that it disappears into a puff of smoke if it gets more than 10 feet away from you?
10 miles in an hour, 13 miles at a fast pace.
That's what I thought. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, it's going to take you 13 hours to get to Yace. Is it fair to say you're just going to do that in one day?
Sure.
Yeah?
Is that... no, we're going, like, from there across the river.
You will then go across the river, likely to here, and then over to here. Okay, great. So on the first day, you ride out through Laven. You circumnavigate Nixon, and you arrive at Yace. Yace's town. You literally came back from about a week ago from defending its borders at the sort of the waning of autumn. And at the waxing of winter, here you are again. The last time you visited, you were put up in a lovely inn, which is called the Scrivener's Diary. That's a nice name, isn't it? I'm right, I didn't know that. There's a lovely inn there. It's quite well to do. The gentleman there is overly neat. He's a half-elf, and he's overly concerned about keeping things neat and tidy, and the rooms are fastidiously clean, and very comfortable. Well appointed. The stables are almost ready to take in a camel. They're not ready for the dragon. Nevertheless, they will put you up. It's a very comfortable evening, and at the very early morn, you are able to set out. Nobody is expecting what happens, as the group of you just ride out onto the ocean. Given that you have horseshoes of Zephyr, why the hell not? Missy the camel, Adria.
That's what I was going to ask.
Adria and Unnamed, the Phantom Steeds. And did you name your warhorse, Mr. Germanius?
Yeah, did you?
Yeah, I guess we'll go with Harry the horse.
Harry the horse, I love that.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to call it something like fucker, but Harry the horse works too.
Yeah, my horse is amazing.
Okay, so Harry and Vero all head out onto the ocean. Vero, of course, flying with a low glide, sort of just about keeping above the water. It's fair to say, Luca, I think Vero is a little unimpressed with this duty. He was all right when you were riding him across land. But I think this sort of it's very ungainly, this sort of gliding motion as the wings with every flap of the wings his feet are getting wet. But yours aren't.
I don't think so. I think it's more a test of his complete control over his body to glide just above the water.
I think he failed the test.
Yeah, that's the point. I don't think at this point he's not quite strong enough with his wings to keep himself hovering above the water and keep you dry. He'll get used to it. Nevertheless, as you land in the other side, sort of bypassing the village, but shocking everybody who's sort of on the shore, your grand troop can continue on down to Sandsedge. And as you arrive at Sandsedge, lovely little place.
Oh, it's so cute.
Is it super blurry for you guys? Oh, there we go.
No.
It looks good.
That is not what I was looking to do. I've just replied to somebody's message with a blank space. That's real helpful. Exactly not what I was trying to achieve. Yeah, couple of things you'll notice about Sandsedge. It looks a little more regal and royal than Velarys does in some ways. It's a nice place. It's got the Great British flag on it. I've just noticed that. Two of them, in fact. Who knew? We'll zoom in. Cut that off. Yeah. So anyway, it's quite homely. It's very comfortable. It's very peaceful. Sandsedge is famous for its apple orchards, which surround or in the surrounding valleys along the edge of the river Sedge, which leads up there. Sandsedge is a bit of a strange name, because nowadays all of the harbour is stone and wood and grass. But back in the day, what was interesting about Sandsedge is that on one side of the river Sedge there was sand, and on the other side was grass. Nowadays there's just a city, so the name has been sort of lost to time. But more importantly than its orchards are its apples. And its apples are used in Sandsedge brandy, which is incredibly good to sell across the land. So that's a little bit of history about Sandsedge. I'm not sure any of you would have been here before. I don't even think Carina would have sort of stopped by here, as it's not a standard port town. It's up the river. So it's probably a new experience for the group of you. But as you arrive at the entrance, the gates sort of open up wide. I think, given the arrival of Luca on a dragon, they're quite aware of who you are. As the gates open, gentleman sort of looking quite important, a very shiny breastplate, and a little feathered plume on his hat. Sort of, good day, what ho! You're here to see the Duke, are you not? And to visit the libraries?
That's correct.
Excellent! I'm to see you in. And he sort of taps his breastplate again with this sort of wrapping of steel on steel that's incredibly unnecessary in this sort of really peaceful, sleepy, large town. And he sort of begins to walk you down the cobbled streets. Obviously, your mounts you can leave at the stables. What does Vero do when the mounts are left the stables? Luca?
Sorry, just cut out. What'd you say?
What does Vero do when the mounts are left at the stables?
Follow us?
Okay, but you're on like little cobbled streets. Is he flying up above, or?
No.
Oh, he's just like waddling down the street. This large dragon.
Knocking things over with his tail, you know.
Oh, great. I love that. In this case, this very stiff and upright man is sort of wincing every time Vero sort of... and looking a little awkward. At one moment, after some lettuces are overspilled, he sort of turns and gestures towards a guard who seems to go and pay him. It seems you are to be given all honour as sort of very important guests. Sorry. So the guard does his best to sort of ignore any discrepancies or anything going on. But he does sort of look at you awkwardly, Luca, when you reach the keep itself, as Vero is wider than the door.
Oh no.
Oh.
That's fine. I'll snap him into his extra dimensional state, so then when we go inside, I'll just snap him back out again.
You're just going to resummon him in the Duke's dining hall. I love that for you. Yeah. Great. So, as you all head into the keep, the rather self-important officer who didn't introduce himself by name gestures for you all to head in, where you're greeted by a relatively young-looking woman. She appears to be in her late 20s, early 30s, and she sort of, welcome. Apologies. The house call will be with you shortly. I'm Loris. Let me know if you need anything. She's wearing sort of a servant's smock, and appears like she was just getting the room ready. She wasn't expecting you guys to arrive quite yet. You've made swift ground with the magical steeds. But sure enough, shortly afterwards, a rather pot-bellied fellow in hose that's far too tight for him, and silver at his cuffs, sort of bows down to you. He appears to be in his 50s. Quite old. Holy shit. Sorry, none of you know what happened, but I just got scared the shit out of by my sub, noise. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it. Good night. 30 fucking months, you know. That is a long time. Welcome back to the Quack Pack. Anyway, carrying on. Yeah, he is sort of quite pot-bellied. His hose is too tight, and he bows down to. He's in his late 50s. Welcome to the house of Duke Kelvar. I'm sure that the Lord and Lady will be down shortly, but please, in the meantime, be seated. Might I get you wine or something else?
Oh. This is not the Duke.
No, this is the house call you were told about. He doesn't give his name. He doesn't think it important.
No.
Yes, I'll take a glass, please.
Excellent.
Oh, me too.
Okay. And he sort of bows low, and shortly afterwards a serving lady comes out with a decanter, water and wine, and the housecarl turns to Luca and... Does the dragon need anything?
Yeah, if you could get your finest venison, and also your finest waterfall water. I think that will do.
Cooked or raw?
Half and half.
The water raw, the meat cooked?
No, half the meat cooked, half the meat raw, and the water room temperature.
Excellent. He nods and looks a little concerned as he walks away.
Diva.
Yes. After a little while, he comes back and... I'm sorry, it seems the Lord and Lady are a little delayed. Might I interest you in some light entertainment? We have a bard on hand.
Oh, of course. Well, no problem.
Should you need me, please ring the bell. I'll be there immediately.
Does this bard know any tales of us to sing?
Assuredly, I would imagine so. I will ask him.
It's not necessary, but...
It's really not.
Okay. He sort of he hesitates a little bit and he's not really sure, but I'm sure you can speak to the bard. So he introduces Sarek, the bard. The bard sort of comes in, lute over his shoulder. You can see that he's sort of rushed to get ready. He's not used to sort of important guests. He comes in and ladies and... And he sort of hesitates halfway through, sort of, ladies and gentlemen. He looks around, there's 5 of you. It's like, okay. And with no more than that, he just begins to play. He'll sort of sit in the corner, strumming away at his lute. And while he's doing so, it's a little awkward Apparently he's not only got a lute, he's got a trombone or something. I don't know what that is. That's a pipe. It's not a trombone. It's not what I thought was going to happen. I thought it was going to be more of a horny noise, and it just, it did what it did. Anyway, so yeah, as he's sort of playing, there's this very awkward moment where there's like no one attending you. The housecarl comes out a couple of times to check if you need any more drinks. But
I mean, I would like to ask his name at some point.
Oh, the housecarl?
Yes.
He is Paulson.
Paulson's being such a nice host.
Yeah, but each time he comes back, he looks slightly more embarrassed. Slightly more sort of. He's feeling awkward. He's embarrassed his host hasn't come down yet, basically. But he's very polite.
What the delay is?
I'm sorry. I'm not sure. He said he would be down shortly. The Duke and his lady are. They went upstairs to get ready when they heard you were at the gate. I'm sorry. I don't know.
Are you sure they're all right?
Yes. As far as I'm aware, they're fine.
I think they might be more than alright, Carina.
I hadn't even considered that.
Hey, yeah, that's exactly. I'm like making eye contact with Luca, like, are they up there like boning right now? That is so unprofessional. I'm whispering that with message, by the way.
Can I reply with message?
You sure can, and only I can hear it.
And I'll just say, I think the excitement of us arriving would get anyone riled up.
Okay, Winona's trying to hold her composure as this guy is continuing his apology.
Yeah, he comes again a little while later. God, that was untimely phrasing, wasn't it? Regardless, he returns shortly. Oh dear. And again, sort of apologizes and says, "Are you hungry? Might I get you all some food?" It's now been a couple of hours. The bard is looking tired. Like it's in a long time. It's very awkward.
At some point, I'm going to gesture at Winona, just like point at my ear a little, and just see if she'll send me a quick message so I can respond.
Yeah, what's up?
I don't suppose you want to have a look around. I can make it very stealthy.
Don't have to tell me twice.
Next time the housecarl comes in, I might ask for the location of the restroom for the ladies.
Well, of course.
Been a while.
We've got a couple of washrooms. Please, just along the corridor on the left. There are guest quarters if you need to make yourself fresh.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sure you'll be wanting to stay the night. Perhaps this is an opportune moment to show your quarters. And he will show each of you to a sort of fairly comfortable room.
Were we going to stay here for the night?
Well, you'll need to, right? Because it's the idea is, it's already 6 o'clock at night.
Thank you, Sarek. It was beautiful. As we walked out.
You just thank the bard and leave. Yeah, he continues playing. Like he's still working at it. He knows that like his job is just keep the room with an atmosphere. There's now a roaring fire. The wine is refreshed. Please do. He'll be over the moon. I like the picture that he looks like the bard out of The Witcher. But anyway, at a sort of after you head to the chambers, what are you doing?
I turn to Winona and I cast Greater Invisibility.
Oh, it's greater now. Look at you. Show off.
I say, you have an hour.
Okay. Say less, and I'm already out the door.
Never mind. You have a minute. Be quick.
A minute?
Yeah.
Do you want to cast standard invisibility
instead? Is invisibility an hour?
Yeah.
Invisibility regular.
I'll cast regular invisibility. I didn't realize greater was shorter.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Greater invisibility.
It makes sense, but I didn't realize.
Greater invisibility is a combat spell, right? and invisibility is not. Also, I don't think in
Regular
general when it comes to
invisibility.
stalking around the house that invisibility and greater invisibility actually have any discrepancy. Unless
Maybe she
Winona
wants to be
wishes
able to
attack
attack a
someone.
rat.
Yeah, exactly, right. So anyway, Winona, you're able to sort of sneakily head out. It's not a big keep. There's 2 floors.
Perfect.
You're in the guest wing, which is on the ground floor. You'll clearly be able to see where the servant quarters are, and then there are stairs upstairs to the Duke's chambers.
I gotta go straight up there.
Yeah, when you get upstairs, it's a wing, the Duke's chambers. You will see that there is the library that you guys have come for, or at least one of the reasons you've arrived. There's what appears to be an office of some sort, which is completely empty. And then there is a bedroom, to which the door is closed. And then there is a 4th room. And that room is a sort of a drawing room as such. And as you look in here, you'll see a man of about 60, 65 years old wearing very fine clothing, kneeling in front of a... Okay, let me... Bear with me on this one, okay? He's kneeling in front of a woman who appears to be 40 or 50 years younger. She's... no. She's about 20, 22 years old. She's got long blonde hair, and she's also dressed in complete finery, and on her lap is a little tiny dog. And the woman appears incredibly distressed. And she's talking, come on, Cinnamon, it's okay, come on, you'll be alright. And she's stroking the underside of the dog. The man is leaning forward and clearly also worried about the dog. It appears that both of their attention is on this little tiny lap dog.
Goodness. Is there anyone else around?
No, just the 2 of them.
I don't know anything about dogs. Okay, I would like to just, I guess, get in there and get a closer look at the dog. Not like all up in their face.
No, but their attention is completely on this. This little tiny pup is fat. It's clearly been overfed. It's a lapdog. It's like a lady's lapdog. It's really small. And it's been, well, looks like grossly overfed, really. Its eyes are jaundiced. And it appears to be choking.
No. Choking? Oh, God. What can I do to help? Uh-oh.
I don't know. What can you do to help?
I can't just start giving this dog the Heimlich. Oh, God.
You're stealing a dog and attack.
No. Not even slightly.
Oh, my God.
If she's worried when it's choking, when it randomly gets carried off by an invisible creature, I think she'll be terrified. Doesn't mean you can't do it.
Guys, I really have no idea what to do about this dog.
Do bear in mind, you are still within 120 feet of your party. You would know this, and you would be able to point your finger if you wish to ask any questions of them.
Fantastic.
You can send message while you're invisible.
I am reporting back.
I think it's not a. It's a spell, right? But it's not a spell. It's a cantrip.
It's still a
This
spell.
message.
It's still a spell, I guess.
It's still a spell.
Okay.
But you have your psychic whispers.
I have telekineticness. Can we retcon? Well, I don't know.
Well, we can say it. I mean, you would have formed a bond with somebody, right?
Yeah, exactly. If I was gonna sneak away, I think I would have done my psychic whispers with Carina at the very least.
If you can can you link all of us with that?
Not
to each other, but to you.
Yeah, everyone can speak telepathically with me. Oh, that's fantastic, actually. Yeah. Yeah. So I will do that then. Which I need to roll something.
Do you?
I guess.
I'm just trying to find the invisibility spell, to be honest.
Oh, I believe if you cast a spell, it drops.
Yeah.
Oh,
Attacks or cast a spell. Yeah.
Yep.
Because it used to be targeting a foe, but I changed it. 'Cause it used to be targeting a foe, but I changed it.
Oh, wow. Why is it rolling my D8 so many times?
What are you trying to achieve? I don't know. I'm confused.
Me?
Yeah, what is it doing? What are these rolls doing?
It's just to see how many hours we have this connection, but I don't know why the page lagged. And
It's also like not relevant because it cannot roll less than 1 hour, which is how long your invisibility will last. So I don't think it's going to matter for now. Yeah, cool. Who are you linked to? Everyone?
I'm linked to the gang.
Okay, cool. Who are sitting in the room listening to the bard awkwardly? Yes?
I think we were escorted to our rooms.
You were just shown your rooms, and then you were welcome to go back for food and drink and whatever. But it's up to you guys where you are. But it's fair to say you're convened in some place or other. Yeah, what are you saying, Winona?
I mean, I'm relaying what is happening. They are up here, freaking out about this dog that looks to be very sick or dying or...
Dying, you think that might be correct.
I don't know what to do about this. And yeah, you can respond back to me.
Perhaps we should go up there. Kai, do you think you could render assistance?
Possibly. I mean, dogs are one of the small four-legged animals, right?
Galthak is an animal healing expert, by the way.
Is that true, Galthak? You've never mentioned this.
I do know a lot about animals. Dogs are not my specialty. And how big is this dog?
It's a little tiny lapdog.
About 14 inches in length.
It's about 10 times smaller than a dog I'm used to seeing.
Yeah, or more.
Do dogs speak like cats?
What?
That'll throw a spanner in the works for a while. I don't think anybody else remembers Ginger.
Well, you know, the cats, they talk psychically, right?
God.
What?
I don't know what you're talking about even a little bit.
Okay, do you know as a player?
Yes.
No.
Okay, so Kai had this moment where a cat jumped up that was a familiar of somebody and spoke into his mind. Or into their mind, sorry.
Man.
Yeah,
so,
and that was their first encounter with the cat, so they just assume that's what cats can do.
There's a dog dying here, but no, don't worry about it. You keep on with this topic. It's keeping me really interested.
No.
Did you smoke the catnip?
What is that?
I think we should come back to this later and maybe go now.
Well, yes.
Right, yeah, that's more important.
Upstairs, and I will direct them to the room.
Cool. Are you also going to spontaneously appear in the middle of the room, or?
Oh no,
I'm
going to step out.
Become visible?
And then walk in like I'm at the back of the group.
Okay, cool. Love that. As you guys come in, the Duke sort of looks up and... Are you the stable master we sent for? Oh. And as soon as he sort of realizes, I'm terribly sorry. I don't suppose any of you know anything about animals, do you? My lady's dog is... seems to be choking on something.
I could take a look, I suppose.
Okay.
I could try my hand as well.
Yeah, she sort of holds this squirming, squealing dog out. It is sort of going... Well, definitely choking. It is fat, it's overweight, it's got jaundice. It's... you can see it's probably been fed way too many cakes. And she sort of holds it out to you. You can see almost like it's a baby. She's very reluctant to let go. But I'm assuming Galthak will take the dog and Kai will look at the dog.
Yeah, I'd like to sort of try to calm the dog and sort of keep it sort of from squirming too much. So between myself and Kai, we can try to figure something.
Okay, animal handling check from Galthak first to determine whether your medicine check will be at advantage or not.
That's a 19.
Medicine check at advantage, please, Kai.
Sweet. 18.
Yeah, there appears to be a bone lodged a short way down the dog's throat. And it appears to be sort of perpendicular to the throat. Looks like it needs to come out somehow.
Is it like... If you look in the dog's mouth, can you see it?
Yes, but it's sort of a couple of inches down. You'd have to reach in quite.
Okay. Could Carina Vortex warp it out?
Does it say targets a creature?
I'd have to move the dog, and I don't know that it would leave behind the bone.
Oh.
However, and I will cast Mage Hand.
The Mage Hand will be no more capable of reaching. I mean, as capable of reaching in as a human would, right? It's only an inch or two down the throat.
Yeah, but you know, it might be a little less intrusive.
True.
And I'll put 2 fingers down the throat and attempt to rotate the bone. And
are you using anything to sort of grease it, maneuver it, or are we just going to sort of done?
I wonder if there's a way I could snap it. I don't know.
I can see it, so I can make it smaller.
Oh.
Can you do that to an object?
Yeah. You cause a creature or an object you can see within range.
You can most definitely reduce it. Yes.
I will hold the bone with my invisible mage hand.
Oh, it's invisible. Fantastic. Love that.
Shut up, Michaela.
Oh, the dog is just like, no one can see what's happening.
And then
despite this strange scenario events, the dog sort of... Kai, you will immediately recognize this to be a fish bone.
Oh.
And Galvac, upon seeing this, you will also recognize it to be a fish bone, which you will know is not something you should ever feed to a dog. Not fish. Fish is kind of okay, but fish bones? Not so good. And the lady sitting on the chair, who appears to be sort of, as I said, in her 20s, just sort of gasps with relief and starts cuddling Cinnamon real close. So the dog looks slightly uncomfortable and a bit hot and sweaty and bothered. But other than that, she said, "Oh, Cinnamon, thank you so much. My baby." And then she starts going stroking it, and Maduka turns to you all, and this is a little bit of an unusual meeting, isn't it? I apologise. We've probably kept you waiting a little while, haven't we? As we were about to...
you would have called us up here sooner.
I didn't think about it, to be honest. I knew we had esteemed guests coming. I didn't realise they were such practical guests. I know you wanted to see the libraries, but... dinner, perhaps?
That would be great.
I think we could all use a meal.
Dinner would be welcome.
There were
Except for the dog.
Yes, I think that's for the best. Oh, it's okay. He sits on my lap when we eat.
Maybe.
Avoid feeding fish.
Yes?
You're going to kill your dog.
No, I'm not. Why?
Galthak, would you explain to the lady?
Okay. By all means, I'll do my best to put this how I can. Those fish bones are like daggers.
Oh.
I do not recommend fish bones anywhere near dogs.
No fish bones. Got it.
It will be a bad time.
Okay, but
stick to the beef. Stick to the
it's venison for dinner
beef.
tonight, right?
Yeah, the big leg bones for those should be fine.
A venison bone is probably larger than the dog, but we'll go with it.
I can't get it choked.
Okay.
No choking on that.
Got it. No fish bones. Okay.
Generally, most things you would eat don't feed to him. Her?
Him.
Him.
So, no pastries? But pastries are his favourite.
Oh, no.
Ooh, I hope they're not chocolate pastries.
I don't think chocolate exists.
Okay, good.
Goodness.
Yeah, but pastries, no sweetmeats? Like, Cinnamon does love sweetmeats.
No.
Oh.
Regular meats.
Regular
meats are good.
Okay. The Duke sort of turns and... Perhaps you should speak with our Houndmaster about more normal diet when he returns. The Houndmaster would have been who we called, but unfortunately he's out on a hunt today. There were some nobles who were going to join us for a meal, but I hope you don't mind. I've asked them to not. I think perhaps a quieter affair after the dramas of today. I'm sorry, this is a strange place for us to be having this discussion. And he sort of gets up off the ground where he's kneeling down and sort of... you can see he's an older man. He's sort of in his mid to late 60s. But he reaches out his hand and he takes the woman's hand, who, as I said, is sort of mid 20s. And he begins to lead her down the stairs. And please, come, join us. And we'll lead you down to the drawing room where the bard is still fastidiously playing. Probably the same track, actually, if we're being honest.
Or bard, overworked.
He knows 3 songs.
Actually, tell a lie, he knows 6, but I don't think it's Time for Africa by Toto. Yeah, so...
It's always a good time for Africa. What are you kidding?
No, that's what we were looking for.
I didn't quite catch the lady's name.
Lady Grace.
And the Duke's name.
Mm-hmm.
That is Kelvar.
Grace is the common name here.
And we all remembered that... no, shit, yeah, you're right. Rubbish. It's Kelvar and Celerity, sorry. It's not Lady Grace. Lady Grace is the princess, you're right. He hasn't married the princess.
I just thought, people in a world could have the name twice. It happens.
Yeah. They could, but it's my mistake. I just got the wrong young woman. To be fair, they are almost the same age, and they are both, they're both fairly well-to-do women now. Well, are they? That's a good point. As you all sit down for a meal, the Lady Grace is very, very quiet. The Duke sort of steers topics from the library and elderlings to your heroic deeds of rescuing the princess. To many other things, various sort of topics that would make sense in a situation, but the lady offers very little. Kai, I'm assuming that you're a bit of a people watcher.
Yeah.
Go ahead and give me an insight check, see what you're getting from these two.
There's insight. Yeah, 26.
26, okay. That's sort of, you get their name, age, and date of birth. But you swiftly realise that the Duke is very accustomed to sort of entertaining, seems very competent, very confident. But almost all of his attention, everything he says, he's still sort of drawn towards the lady at his side. Obviously, she's a newer wife. She's barely into her 20s. I think Carina, or even the king, may have told you that the Duke lost his first wife 7 or 8 years ago and recently remarried. You can see that he's completely infatuated with the woman. Her, on the other hand, looks like she may have been raised very swiftly from a station far below this. Perhaps she was a common woman. Perhaps even one of the staff. She doesn't really have any of the airs and graces you would expect of a Duke's lady. And the way she sort of sits and pays more attention to the dog down here than to the table at all speaks of a woman who's sort of very nervous in public and isn't really prepared to entertain. Winona, you will notice that she is bedecked in expensive jewellery. She has sort of gems glittering at her wrists, at her throat, at her ears, and they're too big for her. They're too gaudy, they're too rich for her. Makes her look sort of, a bit gaudy.
She doesn't wear them with confidence.
No, not at all. The fuck was that? Sorry, something through Roll20 just played a very strange sound. It sounded like an insect descending on us.
Yeah, I heard that as well. What the?
What?
Who knows? It's obviously in the tavern. Regardless, so this is the sort of insight that you get from the two of them. Between you guys, I don't know if you'd say anything of that. Would you guys steer the conversation towards the raid or the towers, etc., during dinner, or do you think you'd keep it to polite and...
I'd probably keep it polite over dinner. The conversation can steer towards that after.
Okay. So yeah, you guys sort of make the polite conversation. The Duke offers after the meal to show you, Carina, and anybody else who's interested, to the library, where you're welcome to look at and borrow any of the books. He says that he's read most of the books in the library, and that his that he once had a lovely apprentice, a mage, at his keep who utilised the library fastidiously. But recently has been apprenticed to Court Mage Jera, so you would know exactly. This is definitely making strange sounds. Yeah, so you would immediately know that that's Jenkins.
Yes.
So yeah, now the library's not seeing as much use. He's very glad to show you it afterwards. And asks of what sort of thing you're interested in. Carina, and how come you are so interested in the library?
Obviously, there's been activity from the raiders of the Northern Isles.
Well, do we know it?
There's potentially information on something that could help us, and I'm here to scour your library for that information.
Anything that can help the nation of Arvina as a whole against the raiders is certain to be useful.
Yes, it also helps to have scouts keeping watch.
Well, it does. If only we had the coin to man watchtowers all across the coast, we would do so.
You have a funding issue.
Paying the watchmen is incredibly expensive. Our watchmen are spread a little more sporadically. Tragically, we didn't have the watchtower at Kravok manned during the time at which the raid happened. I had suspected the king might have made mention of this to you. If I'm to be reprimanded, I understand it, but I can't pay every watchman. At this, the Lady Grace sort of makes it. I'm gonna get an early night. I'm sorry. I have a lovely evening. And she sort of grabs Cinnamon, who she has not fed anything from her dinner plate. And she sort of makes this awkward, like, half-bow curtsy thing that really doesn't befit a noble person at all. And the Duke sort of turns to you all and, please, excuse me for a moment while I see my wife to her room. And he sort of gently takes her arm and guides her up the stairs. Again, you notice that he's completely infatuated with her. And he returns after a short moment, and I'm so sorry. She gets tired quite easily. She's not used to gatherings like these. She was actually a serving maid when I first met her here at the keep.
How long ago were you married?
It'll be a year next week.
Oh, wow. But this is in my thoughts, in my head. The I don't know, the way he acts is like still very very
creepy.
Very newlywedish, yes. Or creepy.
He's an old man. He's not a fan of this relationship.
No, but he does seem he does seem very caring and loving, right? He doesn't seem like a gropey old weirdo. He seems like a very infatuated man who has a very pretty wife.
There's inner judgments, not outer judgments, just inner judgments.
Just saying.
Inner judgments. Wow.
He is back with you.
So.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Correct.
Might I ask, where is your funding going if not to the watchmen, to protect your cities?
Well, the stipend that the king gives us for the watchmen is given directly to the watchmen. I'm a consummate duke. I keep to my responsibilities. We also have our own funds for soldiers, and those too go towards the maintenance of the Coast Guard. But there's a lot of coast. And a lot of watchtowers. And whilst I could man it with, cheap men or the elderly or those who are not trained, I prefer to try and use, those accomplished at their deeds.
I mean, having some guard is better than having some watch is better than none, right?
True.
How much is how many watchtowers is he responsible for, I guess?
50?
Oh goodness.
That's a lot of watch to cover.
He does have
half?
He does have C on 3/4 of his.
Yeah.
Right, this is Coombs. He has C on 3/4 of his borders.
Yeah, that's a lot of coast.
Yeah.
But
And have you requested volunteers for these empty watchtowers?
to sit lonely all night in watchtowers in the freezing cold, and on the off chance to light a beacon and possibly get struck by raiders, even if I did,
Protect their
I would
families?
have no response. You would think, wouldn't you? But no, the majority of volunteers are those volunteering to move inland to Sandsedge itself or the other towns inside. Neat Bay mans its own watchtowers, and they do so fastidiously. The mayor there funds that. In the past, some of the watchtowers were manned from my personal treasury, but I must say I find it a little depleted recently.
Man.
No prizes for guessing where his personal treasury is going, by the way.
I was just about to say, telepathically to everyone, I mean, he could pawn some of those gems and easily pay for a few more towers. But, I'm not saying that out loud. I'm not the tactful one, I guess.
I'm just gonna think back. Maybe we leave that for another day.
Right. So what do we do here? Should we request more funding from the king? Is that what you would from us?
I think we should take this, but maybe tomorrow. It's late.
Okay.
The Duke sort of steers conversation towards other topics, and he seems to care a lot about his people and his country. But he also then offers to take you to the library, where, Carina, you will find 2 books that were not in the copies that you have in your bag of holding, regarding the Solas, and both of them are mentioning the Solas directly. Flicking through them, the majority of them seem to be sort of fantastical tales of their imaginary or perhaps real fantastical deeds. It speaks of them, riding dragons and flying magical chairs through the sky and maneuvering clouds and throwing lightning bolts at each other from vast distances. And so lots of deeds ascribed to many different fantastical beings, but there are a few things that you think maybe on a sort of more closer inspection and comparison to other books might sort of tally up. There may be some fact behind the legend, if you like. And that'll require some further testing and further study. There are also lots and lots of books here on various different magics, which could be of interest, but perhaps not tonight. As you said, it is getting late. And indeed, the Duke will make his excuses within the library and leave you to it. It's sort of 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. You've been riding since 6 o'clock in the morning. The bard finally stops playing and sort of looks incredibly tired and heads off to bed.
Oh no, he's been at it for that long.
Oh yeah, 5.5 hours, I think.
Wow, what a champ!
Poor dude.
What a trooper.
But yeah, with that, is there anything else you'd like to do before heading to bed?
We're on the same floor.
You're on the ground floor.
Oh, okay. Do we have our own rooms?
Yep. It's an entire wing.
Powwow.
Yeah, why not have a powwow?
There is a sort of drawing room attached to the wing where you guys can convene and sort of speak at your leisure without being in individual rooms.
Okay. So, like, what is our plan of action here?
How do you tell a man to stop lavishing gifts on his new wife so that he can pay to protect his people?
Ooh, I don't know. How much do you think it costs to man a watchtower?
Conditions are as bad as he's saying. I'm guessing it wouldn't come cheap either.
300 gold pieces a year, roughly. You would know that.
Each tower? Or just for the
each
walls?
tower.
Each tower. 300 times 50. Yeah, that's a nice pot of gold.
It's more than you guys have, that's for sure.
Is it?
It
Did the
is.
king tell
I think
us
so, it's
how much
150
he
grand, isn't it?
gives?
Wait, 300
Oh no,
per
300.
tower.
No, that'd be 13,500. Yeah, or
Yeah.
15,000. 15,000. I don't know. Math hard.
15,000.
15,000. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be a
No.
little more than what we've got.
We can't personally fund this.
No, and what use is
The
it for
king-
just a year, right? Sorry, go on, Carina.
Did the king tell us when we left how much he sends money-wise
No.
for the watchmen?
No. But it is not. You would know that the king would not grant enough money to man the towers individually. You know, the duke is expected to spend some of his own funds and some of his soldier funds on those things. But since the raiders have gone, the king has increased the funds that he's giving to various people. But the king's money is not limitless, right?
Yeah.
You know, taxes within the Duke of Coombs are paid to the Duke of Coombs, not to the king. In fact, taxes within the duchy within that Velarys is in are paid to the Duke of Velarys, not to the king. So the king doesn't really receive any money from taxes as such, just from various other sources that, you know, like they own lands and such, royal lands.
What was the like?
Son of a bitch, sorry. I've got a dip. Fire alarm. Fuck's sake.
Uh-oh.
Okay, we'll see you shortly, Jamal, or perhaps we won't. Let us know when you're back.
See you in 5.
Good
sorry.
luck.
Just as a heads up, his fire alarm goes off in the middle of the night at his university regularly. It's unlikely to be a fire.
What a prankster.
Stop already.
Those things where I think somebody gets gone ahead and burnt something at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know?
Ah, yes.
Uni students aren't able to cook toast properly, I think, is the main problem. More oversensitive alarms. Anyway,
Yes.
you were discussing a plan of
Give up.
action. How do you tell a duke to stop spending money on his wife and spend it on his watchtowers?
Ugh.
The raids continue. Does he not realise that he won't have a kingdom, or a duchy, should I say, to actually watch over? Let alone his wife at this rate.
I was gonna ask, what's like the vibe in this town? Like, do people seem scared and worried? Are there like refugees from the other villages here?
You didn't see much of the town, but from what you could see, it was a prosperous town. Quite a sleepy village on an inlet. It's famous for its brandy and its orchards. It's very beautiful. Didn't seem
wealthy.
like peasants. No, pretty wealthy, pretty well-to-do, and pretty unfazed by what goes on at the coast.
Yeah, so they are like. I don't
Just a
think
heads
they're
up: the
even,
river,
like-
the river leading up to Sandsedge is not big enough for a raider ship to head up. So, yeah, no, they're probably unaware of the problems, really.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, is like, it seems like a faraway problem that even the Duke is probably not taking super seriously.
Whoever has painted the flags of apples is an absolute fucking genius.
Yeah, it's so good.
That is brilliant. I love that. I'm even going to change this to Roll20 just so I can see. I had us focus lower down on the screen so that we couldn't see the Great Britain flags, and now they're apples. The apples of Sandsedge. Well done.
I didn't notice they were apples.
That's very clever. Anyway, yeah, do you have a plan of action?
Perhaps he would consent to ride with us out to the town, just to see.
Oh, to see the town that just got raided? Ooh. It is the same cat. The lighting is just very weird in my head.
Okay, I was going to say, I was so confused. I was like, why is Michaela's cat changed colour? It's been dyed!
No. It just had a very poor lighting situation.
Cool.
Yeah, the lighting's a bit off.
Sorry for the distractions. Yeah, so, while this discussion is going on, after a little while, you hear a knock on the door.
No.
Come in?
And entering the room is sort of in a servant's sort of brown robe and shawl. It's the Lady Grace, and she's holding Cinnamon again.
Celerity.
Lady Celerity, yeah, that one. Lady Celerity. Yeah, she's holding Cinnamon, the dog, who appears to be breathing a little, sort of breathing. You know, he's not choking, but she sort of turns to you. I'm so sorry to bother you, but he's making funny noises and breathing strange.
Let's take a look at him.
Take a look. Very quickly, before you guys have even sort of really inspected the dog, once it's out of her sort of smothering cuddle, its breathing calms down a little bit. It appears the dog was just hot, bothered, overly cuddled, overly, swaddled in blankets and such.
I'm gonna give it a head scratch and just do a little healing hands, maybe just to make it just feel a little better.
Yeah,
just in general.
Quell its stomach a little bit, and it sort of relaxes for a moment, and then it promptly pukes on the floor.
Ugh.
And when it does so, you will see
buddy.
2 boiled candies in amongst it. They swallowed whole and vomited whole.
Those don't look very digestible.
What a time to not have prestidigitation.
Do not! That's like the best spell in the world! How can you not have prestidigitation? What rubbish. Does Kai have prestidigitation?
No.
That's not a bard spell, is it?
Fantastic.
No, that would be... it might be, I don't know. But somebody should have prestidigitation. We must sort that problem out. But in the meantime, you'll sort of... She'll be very apologetic, but you will notice these sweets. Straight away. She sort of,
My lady...
Cinnamon.
Have you ever owned a pet?
No, my lord gave me Cinnamon shortly after our marriage. I could no longer spend time with my friends. Now that there's such a gap between us, and I was lonely. Cinnamon's been the only companion I've had, really. I know I spoil him so, but he's special to me. I won't give him any fish bones, I promise. No pastries. No sweets.
Candies.
No, I know. He had those before the fish bones. I did listen.
And he might stand to lose quite a bit of weight. Perhaps swimming would be a good start.
Okay. I'm not allowed to go out walking without guards. So Cinnamon doesn't get to go out much. I don't like walking with the guards. They make me feel watched. It's not very nice. Do you think perhaps I should ask one of the maid girls to take him for a walk?
Any exercise is good.
Okay.
Good work.
And
That's a good idea. Yeah.
She sort of looks to you. Go on.
Maybe hold him a little less tightly.
Okay. She puts him on the floor and leans down and sort of pats him on the head while he's on the floor. The dog almost looks a bit confused to be on the ground. It clearly doesn't spend much time there. And she looks to you and sort of, it's my fault, isn't it?
What? The dog
You
was
were
sick?
given a gift that you were not prepared for.
Not the dog. I heard you at the table. The money for the towers.
Oh.
If my lord wasn't
That is-
spending money on me.
That is also something that was not in your control.
No, but...
The way I see this.
And she sort of reaches into her servant's smock and pulls out a wooden box. He gives me gifts so often that he won't even notice if these are missing. Do you think maybe you could see that it reaches the village that was raided?
I'm gonna reach out for the box and...
Inside is a beautiful sort of sapphire and emerald necklace that's probably worth about 5,000 gold pieces. Yeah. It's looking pretty pricey.
A village wouldn't really be able to do anything with this, right? I
No,
mean,
but she means like, can you sell it and then hand the money on to them, right? Don't
Yeah,
give them
okay.
a necklace. I don't know what
Just
they're gonna do.
Here you go!
They're all broke and have no food, but one woman looks really good.
In the burnt down ashes of her home.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah.
But no, she sort of shrugs and I'll say to him that I don't need all the gifts, but maybe
I have a feeling that man would do anything that you asked.
I think so.
And the way I see this, it wouldn't be right for you to blame yourself. Were it another woman, I feel he would do much the same for her as well.
But you're right. He does do many things that I ask. It wouldn't hurt to ask for him to look after his people, would it? And she sort of smiles
Certainly
awkwardly.
wouldn't.
I won't say it came from you. Thank you. And she sort of goes to reach down and pick up the dog, and then sort of changes her mind and goes, "Come on, Cinnamon," and begins to walk in front of the dog. And she turns back and sort of, "Good night."
Just before the dog vanishes around the corner or something, can I take a quick glance at him, see if he looks good now? And
No, he's waddling.
Waddling
He's,
still fat.
Yes, he's definitely still fat. The legs are too stubby. He's still got jaundiced eyes. He's a little less hot and sweaty. But
Breathing normally, though, at least.
Yeah, some exercise and a good diet will do wonders for the dog, I'm sure.
No doubt.
Well, why don't you guys get to bed? Whether your problem is solved or not remains to be seen. But is there anything you would say the following morning, or would you trust that the Lady Celerity will solve that issue?
Well, it's worth giving her a chance, right?
Do bear in mind
Yeah, I
that the
don't
king
know.
did mention that there will be an official reprimand after you guys,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Then
I don't know if there's more that we could say, but
Exactly.
During your morning recce of the library, you find a couple of things that are a little bit interesting to you. But one thing that might be interesting to the party as a whole, and one thing that might be interesting to Winona. Winona, there is a book there called On Artifice, which talks about the making of unusual small devices. You won't find this on D&D Beyond, you will need to add a custom item. But if you study it for 8 hours, you will be able to A, make double the amount of standard inventions as you would otherwise, and B, you may get an infusion.
Awesome.
So with that, the
They
other
said
book,
we can check out these books.
you can take them with you, as long as you send them back in the post at some point. But Carina, you will find something that is slightly more useful to the party as a whole, and that's the oldest of woods. And as you take it and begin to start having a flick through it, it mentions wizard wood. Might be worth a read.
Oh.
I will give you the information on that next session, because that's where we're going to end. So we
no other interesting books. No books for Galthak.
He can read.
Galthak's busy writing a book on veterinary services and things.
Yes, on the care of camels. Like Galthak Bone Breaker.
Oh, fuck yes. Let's go.
Yeah, we'll come to MVPs. I will start where I finished, which I believe was Alora.
Darn, I hate being first.
I'm so sorry. Someone has to be.
No, there was a lot of great moments. I love the imagery of the group of us traveling across the world in our mishmash of mounts floating across.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Poor Vero just skipping across the water, occasionally dipping in.
Yeah. I think that's pretty cool. And it's such a way to arrive at a city as well, right? Just like, oh, okay. It's a camel and a couple of water mount dude things and a dragon. And a warhorse, because why not? Yeah. Michaela.
Oh yes. I mean, I think my MVP has to be the operation on the dog. The invisible mage hand just going down its throat, the reduce on the bone, just on the bone to make it tinier. I don't know. Everything about that was very good. It probably more convoluted than it needed to be, but I loved it.
I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah. Josh.
Yes, it was great.
Mine probably goes when Winona was like, Carina, you're back. Tell us about your trip. Carina's like, you're the one that's left.
True enough. True enough. Jamal?
Well, I do have a little side moment which I've got to mention, which is more for the group because for half of this you were disconnected, unfortunately. It was just we was discussing Harry the horse. The horse is amazing, and then you just mentioned that the horses are hovering. It's just, well, with a stroke of his mane, he turns into a plane. He really fucking did.
He did.
That's the reference made so far in the campaign.
Yeah, Harry the fucking horse. Yeah. Anything else?
2009. Yeah. Just the entire clusterfuck of like borderline incompetency with like the defense of the realm is just really a puzzling one. Every single coast is just like, well, we cannot fucking defend it. Well, shit.
Yeah. It's definitely a conundrum solved by the fixing of a dog. Jay.
Yeah, I mean, our full party's back together, so that's a plus. And when Carina saw Vero for the first time again, and just be like, oh, all right.
Yeah, no, definitely. Very much on that note, one of my MVPs was Josh saying that Vero's hoping to eat the world at some point, and Carina going, let's hope not. Which was great. And the incredible high maintenance of Vero's half-cooked, half-raw venison.
Oh my fucking god, yeah.
The poor
And
bard.
waterfall water.
Yeah. Oh, and waterfall water. Yeah, that's true. The poor bard.
At room temperature.
At room temperature, yes.
Oh, the poor bard.
Yeah, I did like the bard. I thought he was just such a random side touch. He wasn't even meant to be present. I was just like, what would the housecarl do in this situation? I loved the invisibility that resulted in you guys then appearing in the flesh. Just sort of like, oh yeah, this is happening. Okay, cool. We'll just be people now. So that was great.
They were boning.
No, not for 2.5 hours.
There was a bone involved.
There was a bone involved.
Oh
But
my
he's 66. 2.5 hours of boning would be the death of him. Not only
Sorry,
that,
guys, fire alarm again. Gotta vanish
that's fine.
now.
How many incidental puns were going on there? You know, the steward comes again. All sorts of things such as that. This is all based on a chapter in the books that obviously this campaign is based off. Where the prediction is made: fits, fixes, feists, fits, fat suffices. And the idea is that Fitz, being the character, fits, fixes, feists, fits, fat suffices. So the feist is having a fit, and Fitz, the character, fixes the fits by using fat. And it's this silly little rhyme that ends up being basically solving a diplomatic problem by healing a dog. And in the book, it's really sweet because actually Fitz says to the woman, who is confusingly in the book called Grace, okay, which is why I'm so confused. Okay, because there is no princess in the book. The princess is of my making. So yeah, she's called Grace. But he sits in the kitchen with her and basically says, like, I had a dream where a woman of your stature sort of stood on the balcony and pointed out at the watchtowers and said that the lights of the watchtowers were gems enough, that she didn't need to wear her own. And it's this really beautiful sort of moment. And yeah, I just thought it was a cool little roleplay bit of fun and puzzle. We are going to resume next session with time having passed. So with a couple of weeks having passed. Not much happens in winter. So we'll pick up then. But until then, if you guys would like to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
We shall see you soon.